In our previous video, what we did was we created the chips and the fish finger, and I asked you to actually duplicate them, and we were going to have a look at how to actually rotate them. If you manage this yourself, fantastic. If not, here's how we do it, and we're going to be demonstrating how to actually use the rotate tool and the rotate methods in Blender in this video. Objects in Blender are rotated around a pivot point, and the pivot point you will see here. If I zoom in a little bit more, let me just click on here, you will see that the yellow dot is the pivot point for this particular object. So that's what we're having a look at, and that's where we're going to be rotating it from. The most common way of rotating an object is to press the R key on your keyboard, and that will actually allow you to actually move that object. Whoops, I've chosen the wrong thing. Let's click on my fish finger. So R for rotate, and I can rotate it whichever way I want. And if I hold down my middle mouse key, I can then change the angle that this rotates in. Alright, so if I wanted to get my fish finger flat, then I could do that. Okay, so I would left click to accept the change, and my fish finger is flat. Okay, it's hovering above the surface, so I can use my blue arrow key, which is the Z-axis key, and I can make it sit on the platform itself. Okay, I could do the same with my other objects. So I can press the letter R, hold down my middle mouse button key, and I can determine which way I want this to rotate. Okay, so I want that to be nice and flat, let's say. So I'm going to left click, use my arrow key, and get it to sit down on the base. Alright, so you can do that with those other two objects there. And what we will have is we'll have our fish and chips actually lying down. Let me quickly do this. Get that one to lie this way. And finally this fella here, pressing R, holding down my middle mouse key and choosing the angle that I want this to lie down. That will do nicely, and we'll sit him down on the base. Okay, if you wanted to have a look and see how they're sitting on the plate, you could always press the number 1, the number 3, or the number 7 from the top. Okay, so let's have a look at it from the side, and we can see that these are floating above the surface. So I'm going to pull it down so that it sits on the surface itself. I'm sure your mouse is going to be a lot better than mine is. Mine's a bit twitchy. Okay, I'm actually going to move this other shape. We're going to pull it along the y-axis. Just shift it out the way a little bit. Okay, we could do a whole collection of chips, and they could be all stacked against each other, and a bit like lying, you know, like chopsticks if you want to. Have some fun with that and see how you do. I'm going to duplicate my fish finger now. So now I'm going to duplicate my fish finger. I'm going to hold down the shift key, press the letter D just once, and I can recreate my fish finger and moving it across. So I have 3 fish fingers at the moment, 3 chips. It would be nice to add some peas, so I'm going to press the space bar on my keyboard, and I'm going to say add UV sphere. Whoops, UV sphere. Okay, here is my pea, but as you can see, my pea is massive in comparison to all of my chips and my fish fingers, so I need to resize that. So pressing the S will allow me to scale it, and I have to make sure when I press S that I'm away from that pivot point in the middle, so that I can make nice tiny little peas. Okay, so I'm going to use Shift D a couple of times. We'll make some more peas. Alright, let's move this little fella over here. Push him down. Okay, he can join his buddies. Alright, so we've made some fish fingers, we've made some chips, and we've made some peas. We've also learnt how to rotate using the R key.